How many of you went to high school? Pretty much everybody. How many of you liked high school? Ooh.
Oh, well.
Despite laws mandating it, despite the ominous predictions of what will happen if you drop out of high school, nobody can tell me that everybody belongs in high school. Let me say it again. Not everybody belongs in high school. This may sound like a heresy, especially coming from a teacher, but even in a time when it seems like you should go to college to become an auto mechanic, not everyone should go to high school. When I dropped out of high school for the first time, and I did it twice, it was a crisis. It was a sure path to economic failure. Not much has changed since 1968. Dropping out of high school is still considered a path to economic failure. It is still being called a crisis. It is not a crisis. It is a message. Dropping out of high school, thinking of it as a crisis, leads to solutions that emphasize compliance. They make laws that say you have to go to school longer. They send truant officers after you to pick you up and drag you back, like educational fugitives. If we look at students dropping out of schools as a message instead, dropouts tell us that school sucks. It is not reaching them, that they feel they have no hope for success in school, or more importantly, in life. They tell us that they're not being challenged enough, or not being allowed to follow their own learning paths, their own interests. They just say school doesn't fit them. It's too big, too small, too noisy, too quiet, too violent. The reason students leave school are as differentiated as the lessons we're supposed to be teaching them. You have heard and will continue to hear today and tomorrow about ways to make school better, to make teaching better. And that's all well and good. But what I want to talk about is how to make learning better. It's almost impossible for any modern high school, even Eric's, and his school is fantastic. It's almost impossible for any high school to reach every student. It's not for lack of effort, not for lack of intent, but in an increasingly mandated, structured, centralized world, it just can't happen. Now we're all supposed to be honing our lessons to the Common Core. Does anybody want to be common? Certainly not me. Instead of focusing on how to make schools better, or how to make teaching better, think about how to make learning better for the individual student. My idea of the perfect school is one without walls, where you can learn what you want, when you want, and most importantly, how you want. You differentiate yourself. Nobody has to do it for you. You know how you learn. You will figure out how you learn. I say do what teachers have been telling you to do since you started school. Take control of your learning. That's what we say, but it scares us when students actually do it. I dropped out of high school twice, college once, because attending was getting in the way of my learning. I got tired of teachers calling my questions and comments irrelevant, time-wasting, distractive and disruptive. I got tired of being told what to learn and when to learn it. I get up really early in the morning. And my problem wasn't that school started at 8 a.m. because it was too early. My problem was school started at 8 a.m. because it was too late. By 8 a.m., I was ready to go to bed. I figured out for myself that knowledge doesn't come in neat little sections called ELA and math and science and history. English language arts is not a subject. It's what we practice every day when we talk to people and listen to people. Art is not a subject, neither is music or health. Knowledge is a massive, ever-growing, all-encompassing, giant ball in which we all live. That every insight you gain, everything you learn, changes everything. People don't realize how powerful we are to change the world every single second, because the world changes every second whether or not we want it to. The only thing we can control is ourselves. So I left school. My parents weren't happy about it at all. But I had the biggest, most cultured, most vibrant, most differentiated city in the world. I grew up in Manhattan. I got a great education despite leaving school, first time in 9th grade, then again in 11th grade, with a year in between doing what I continued to do. I got a great education because I never stopped asking questions. I never stopped being curious. School had not beaten it out of me, despite their efforts. The real key to making dropping out, or if you prefer, opting out, work for you, is to leave soon enough. To leave before you get your curiosity beaten out of you. Leave while you still have curiosity, a hunger to know something, to learn anything, and while your parents are still supporting you. It may be after 8th grade, it may be after 9th, 10th, you'll know when you are ready to just walk away from it. Now you can sleep a little later or get up earlier, but don't spend the day in bed watching cartoons or Jerry Springer. There's a world out there to explore. Today it doesn't matter if you live in Manhattan like I did, or East Nowhere. There's a whole world available to you every day. Think of the tools you have now that I didn't have: Skype, Twitter, Facebook, Khan Academy. There's more ways to access information than there ever have been, just as there's more information to access. You don't need a curriculum. You don't need a roadmap. You don't need a plan, not an individual education plan. Don't write one, live it. Just ask a question and seek an answer. Then ask another question. Listen to the answers you get. Follow tangents. Go off in odd directions. Wander aimlessly. Focus like a laser. It's up to you. Tinker. Play. All knowledge is connected, and things will become clear. They'll start to make sense as you know commonalities and differences. Wonder about discrepancies. You'll make connections and develop insights. Are you in love with baseball? Study it. You'll learn about statistics, figuring a pitcher's earned run average. That takes complex mathematics. You'll develop strategies. You'll learn the science of the curveball, the history of race relations in America, and more. You'll learn about why the Dominican Republic produces shortstops and Japan doesn't, but they produce pitchers. Follow baseball as far as it will take you, then ask another question. Do you like to knit? Study it. Learn about different types of wool, their tensile strength, where they come from, and how they become shocking magenta or chartreuse. Learn math as you figure out how much you need to make that sweater you want to make, and the physics of its tensile strength. Into dolls, dogs, drumming, or debate. Doesn't matter. Are you passionate about golf, gadgets, Greta Garbo? Doesn't matter. It all is connected. Go where your passions take you, and you will wind up someplace you never expected. You'll wander off one path onto another one, perhaps even learning the secret of life, the universe, and everything. Just keep asking questions. You'll find many answers, each of which will lead to more questions. Joyce Valenza, great librarian, calls it a never-ending search. Here are some things you're likely to discover. People are eager to talk about what they know, what they do, what they think, if you're willing to listen. People are eager to tell you their stories. Everybody has a story. When I dropped out of high school the second time, I became a reporter for a radio station here in the city. And the one thing I learned in that job, besides the outmoded technology of actually cutting and splicing recording tape, the thing that I've been carrying with me ever since is that everybody has a story, and they're dying to have someone listen to it. Your bullshit meter is going to develop. You'll figure out when people are lying to you. You'll find the joy of learning again, the joy of teaching. You'll discover that you have more knowledge than you ever thought, and you'll find the excitement of wondering. You'll learn that all answers lead to more questions, but they're better questions, deeper questions. Keep learning. Do all the things high school tells you that you don't have time to do because you're spending 6 or 7 hours a day there. You will get a better education than any institution can give you. Don't worry about getting into college. Getting into a good college requires standing out from the crowd, differentiating yourself, distinguishing yourself from the hundreds of thousands of other high school seniors. So while all those other kids are taking the same classes and doing every extracurricular and community service project that they can think of beyond the time they're cramming for exams, you'll be having different experiences. While they're being told what to learn, when to learn it, how to learn it, your learning will not be limited by a curriculum. It'll be free range, going as far as your curiosity takes you. Just think of the application essay you'll be able to write. Stand out for sure. Somewhere in the process of writing that essay, you'll be thinking what that next word or paragraph should be, and it will come to you. You'll start to wonder whether or not you really need to go to college. Because once you start becoming a free-range learner, it's very hard to stop. In fact, it's impossible to stop. And that is the best part of it. Walk away from school. Now, let me just clarify one more thing. I am not anti-school. Not everybody should do this. Just as not everybody should go to school, not everybody should leave it. But if school isn't working for you, if you feel that you can not survive another moment in that boring lecture, walk out. Use the power of your feet, and then go use the power of your brain. Thank you.